We've already lost something like 2,000 jobs because of the cuts that have been happening over the last couple of years. Taking close to another $1 billion out of the public service will certainly mean that there need to be job cuts. We also believe that there are going to be service cuts. Departments simply won't be able to find that kind of money from the so-called back office. An example we've seen recently is the plan to cut the Waitakere Family Court. So people from West Auckland are going to have to travel all the way into Central Auckland. We expect to see that happening right across the country in one form or another. Something like 10% of all public service jobs are sitting as vacancies at the moment. So the government departments are operating at quite significantly under the kind of capacity they should have. They're holding jobs open, they're not filling them. That's putting a lot of pressure on the people who work in those services. And of course we've got the prospect of further mergers and restructures happening. The government hasn't announced that in the budget, but they have indicated that that will be coming soon. So all in all, it's a pretty bleak picture for public servants. They've increased the minimum contribution from 2% to 3%, so for lower paid workers it's going to be more difficult to save, and we know that that's going to put the pressure further on employers in the public sector who are going to have to find additional funding from somewhere, from other parts of their service deliveries, to fund that. So all in all, this is transferring cost onto individual workers and citizens and cost onto individual departments, and we think the government's showing a real lack of leadership. They're really saying to each individual chief executive, you've got to work out where to make these cuts, and they're asking them to inflict those cuts on themselves. The fiction from the government is that this is coming from back office services. We don't believe that's possible. We know that it's not possible in fact to distinguish between the back office and the front line in many cases. And anybody will tell you that in order to have efficient frontline services, you've got to have very good support services. So any cut in the back office usually just transfers administrative duties to frontline workers. So we think the whole distinction between back office and frontline is nonsense, frankly. And simply what they're doing is cutting money from government services. And in the end, who loses from that? It's New Zealanders who need access to those services. Well, we've already seen some indications that it's becoming more difficult to recruit people into the public sector. Public service wages over the past couple of years haven't really kept pace with the private sector, and we've certainly heard from some recruitment agencies saying that it's becoming more and more difficult to attract the right kind of talent into the public sector. You add that to things like less attractive superannuation offerings than used to be the case, and all in all it's going to make the public service a less attractive place to work, and that's going to be to everybody's loss. There's no way that cutting services delivers better value to New Zealanders. At the end of the day, you give people less to deliver services, you get less services, and they're often not such good services. So the losers out of all of this are going to be New Zealanders who use public services, which actually is all of us.